Welcome to the Broadcast Learning Channel. I'm Annie Billings, your host, and I'm also one of the instructors here on the Broadcast Learning Channel. We are excited that you've joined us, and in today's session, we are going to focus on a PTZ camera, that's fairly new on the market. It's been on the market for a little while now, and that camera is produced by AViPAS. Now, AViPAS has been in the market, especially in the streaming market, for quite some time now. I first met AViPAS along when COVID came. I was helping some churches actually start their streaming online, and we were looking for cameras, and we went through a couple of different cameras, and we found that AViPAS actually produced the quality that we were looking for these particular churches. And most of these churches were large, medium, and smaller churches. So we found that AViPAS would fit into any of those type of environments, whether it was large, medium, or small churches. But we focused more during COVID of installing cameras in medium to small size churches, and AViPAS just fit those type of venues very well for us. Now, AViPAS has on the market now a new camera, and it's been on the market for a little bit, but it's fairly new to their line of products, and that is here the AViPAS 2040 camera. And this is a 4K camera. So if you're looking for it online, you're going to find it, and it's labeled the AV 2040 4K camera. This camera has a 20 times zoom on it, and it has multiple video outputs on this camera. And those video outputs can be used simultaneously. Now, one of the great things about this camera it is an auto tracking camera. And so I had AViPAS send over a demo. Now, this demo was provided by AViPAS because we were actually showing this camera to a couple of customers who are looking to purchase cameras. So we always like to see if we can get a demo of the product so we can actually show the customer as we are speaking to them about the different products that we're recommending for their environment. And so we like to show those products off. So AViPAS sent this camera to me so that we could actually show it and test it and show the customer the output of the camera, the video quality, and how the camera actually handles in different environments. So we're going to talk just a little bit more about some of the features on this camera. Now, it does have a 1.18 CMOS Sony sensor in it.
CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. In a CMOS sensor, each pixel includes its own amplifier and readout circuitry, enabling fast read speeds, low power consumption, and flexible on-chip processing.
One of the great things, if you're doing production, so say if I had someone who was in a production session, I have my talent people, and I have a multi-camera environment in which I'm doing that production. Most often, I'm going to have a floor director, because otherwise, if I don't know which camera to look at, if I'm the talent person, then I'm sort of lost, and you sort of see me look off to the side, and that's where a floor director comes in. He or she is always pointing at which camera the talent should be looking at. Well, this camera has the ability, or it does have a tally. So if you look right at the front lens here, you'll see there's a little tally indicator. So this helps the talent whenever this camera is hot, meaning that it's on program output, then the talent knows which camera to look at without having to have that floor director there, because they're always looking for that tally light. So this tally light is very bright red whenever it is active. So that helps, again, the talent person to know which camera is actually on air. Also, this camera has multiple outputs. Now, going back to that same production, if I'm doing a production, I may need to see an output of the camera. Now, I'm always going to have my multi-viewer available if I am the actual TD of that show, because I have to be able to see, how to set my next shot up, what's coming up, how I'm plotting out my shots. Now, yes, this camera, being that it has multiple outputs on it, I could actually utilize this camera where I can connect one of the outputs to a monitor. So let's talk about some of the outputs that are on the camera. Let's take a look at them. Now, on the back of the camera, you can also see the different ports that I'm making reference to. So let's start first of all with the ports here. Now, this is your Ethernet port. So if you actually wanted to communicate with this camera over an Ethernet port, it does have the ability to output video over this Ethernet port. The next port over is your SDI port. So this is a 3G SDI port. And an SDI port is used for those longer runs. So if you got a camera that needs to be at the front of your, say, sanctuary, and your production equipment is at the far part of the back or the front of the sanctuary, it's better to use SDI cables so that you don't have any degradation in your video. And for those who are going to be using the camera close up, then we have an HDMI port. So this HDMI port will output also. And then you have a USB-C port that is also an output. So all of these ports simultaneously can output video. You also, on the back of the camera, you will see additional ports here. Now these would be your RS-232 or 485 ports, where you could actually control this camera or daisy chain cameras together. I don't know very many people who are daisy chaining cameras together, especially if you are in a sanctuary environment. You could, but I think most people are going to run a direct cable through the Ethernet port here, where they can actually control this camera through the output of this Ethernet port by using a joystick controller. And yes, AViPAS does have joystick controllers that will allow you to control the camera itself over an Ethernet port. One of the other features that this camera has is auto tracking. When you're working with a church, you're working with a community organization, most often they do not have a production team. So they're looking for convenience. Convenience of being able to turn a camera on and basically start streaming or start recording without depending on personnel to come in and run their equipment for them. Now, yes, there's still going to have to be some setup because somebody has to come in and turn the equipment on. But what we want to do in this case, we looked at this camera for a church because they don't have a large production team. So we looked for that convenience for them. And by being able to provide a camera that does auto tracking, it becomes more beneficiary for them to purchase these cameras. Again, that auto tracking can work whether you mount it on a tripod or if you mount it on a plate that actually is now wall mounted. But again, if you are an organization, you're, telemedicine or a content creator, you can actually use this camera and teach. Say if you're doing piano lessons or you're doing guitar lessons and you want to move about, this camera will follow you. If the pastor has a tendency to walk during service, because we have some pastors who are active. They move back and forth from the pulpit because that's getting the attention of the people that they're talking with. But we also want those people who are looking online to be able to see the pastor at all time while he or she is walking on stage. So we're going to show you how this camera can auto track. We're going to go outside. I'm going to set the camera up and we're going to see how well this camera will auto track.
When a camera is set to auto track, it means the camera automatically detects and follows a subject, typically a person, keeping them framed in the shot without a human operator. This feature is common on PTZ, pan tilt zoom, cameras used in broadcast, houses of worship, conferences, classrooms, and corporate studios.
Okay, so now I've moved outside with the camera. And this is to show you that this is an auto tracking camera. If you're looking to use this camera in, say, a Sunday service, or maybe you're teaching Bible study online, or in some cases, it just simply means that you may be teaching school and you're looking for a camera that will keep up with the person who's in front of the camera. So that person becomes the center of attention. So the camera, using some of the AI features that are included in the camera, it is able to track me as I move back and forth across the yard. As I move out, if I sort of get a distance between me and the camera will keep me in focus. Now, the ability of this camera is I can actually tell it to center on me, keep me in the middle of the shot, which is what I'm doing now, or you also have the ability to set the camera to keep the talent person or the center of attention to the right or to the left of the camera. And we'll show you some of that as we do it inside. But again, the purpose for coming outside was to show you that this camera does have the feature to auto track me.
Let's have a look at the menu of the AV2040.
So let's talk about the menus of this camera and how to get into it. Now, the camera does come with the ability to log into the camera if you connect to it over an Ethernet and your computer and your cameras in the same Ethernet address, then you can actually use your computer to get into the menu also and make adjustments there. We will show that to you in another video later on. Based on your requirements. Now, but the one thing I wanted to show you here is if you will look, you can actually access the menu by using the remote control that comes with the actual camera itself. So you can scroll through based on whatever it is you need to adjust in the camera. You can actually scroll through it. If I needed to go back up and make some adjustments to my exposure, I'd simply go up to exposure, click on exposure, and once I click on exposure, then I can arrow over and make the adjustments to the different exposure features here within the camera. And I'm using the remote control to do this. Now again, the software is part of the package. It automatically comes installed on the camera where you, again, if you use the IP on the camera and place your computer in the same IP scheme, you can open the application of the software as well as using the remote control camera. But for those who are new at using PTZ cameras and not knowing how to actually set that IP on your computer, this is probably the easiest way to make the adjustments to the camera is by simply using the on-screen menu, using the remote control to get into that on-screen menu. And it's just as easy to get out. You just press menu until that menu goes away. This again is the AViPAS 2020. It is on the website. You can find it under AV 2040. That is the camera. I just said 2020, but it's the 2040 camera. It is 4K with multiple outputs on it. And the one thing about this camera, it is a auto tracking camera, which I think a lot of environments will get lots of use out of that. And it's able to track you based on some of the AI features that are part of the camera. So it does a lot of finding your face and it finds the person who's center. And again, you can, as I spoke with you earlier when I was outside, you can set this camera up to be left, right, where it keeps the talent on the right. So if there are multiple people in a shot, then it's going to sort of make sure everyone's in the shot, but its focus is usually going to be, you would have set it to be on the host, so that's who it's going to continue to focus on, even though there are other people in the shot. Again, it can be set up left, center, and right to be auto-tracked. And so this is one of the great points that I think of this camera, especially in those environments where you don't have personnel to actually control the cameras manually. So again, if you're looking for a good PTZ camera, We found this one to be one that is, we've tested it and it has held the test. So, again, this is the AViPAS 2040. If you have questions, leave your questions in the comment section. Or if you want us to do a more in depth training on this camera, we will gladly do so. We will walk you through all of the menus, explain those menus and how they work. So if you have an interest of learning more about this camera, leave comments in the comment section and we will do a training session where we will invite you in to a training session so that we can help you understand how to go in and set up the different menus. Again, thank you for joining us here on the Broadcast Learning Channel.